Should we get started?
I think
Okay.
so.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I want to formally welcome you to the first event that we're having as part of the Climate Educator Network. As most of you know, the Climate Educator Network is something we're just setting up, and it's a multidisciplinary group of people. And the idea is that we invite people from all sectors, all disciplines, all ideologies, and think about climate action and climate solutions together. And the major framework that we're thinking of is through teachers. How do we support teachers? Well, more broadly, educators, because teachers makes it too narrow. So any kind of person who's interested in educating from a neighborhood level to a state level, it would be people that we want to support with resources, with guidance, with specific kind of resource personnel. The idea is that we will also have a formal website which will also host different kinds of resources and different kinds of resource people. And we're trying to think through different formats by which we can really get the idea of climate education as a binding kind of idea for a larger community right now of educators who may not also be thinking of climate, but who are interested in integrating them into those disciplines. So that is a little bit about the network. And I think most of you here already are signed up to it or are on our LinkedIn platform. But if you're not, then please do register. That's where we're updating most of the activities that we are about to roll out. This is the first of it. So thank you all very much for being part of this initial journey as we're starting out. With that, I will formally kind of introduce our speaker today, and I want to extend a very, very warm welcome to Vandana Chavan, who has very kindly been is kicking off the activities of this network. She is a distinguished advocate and political leader and has held several prominent positions in Pune and for India. She served as a Pune Municipal Corporation Councillor for 3 terms from 1992 to 2007. She was also the mayor in Pune in 1997 to 98. And she's a member of the Rajya Sabha since March 2021. Throughout her career, she has spearheaded lots of initiatives like Smile and Alert, which I hope that she'll tell us more about in our conversation today. Can you all hear me? Because my screen seems to have frozen.
Yes, can hear you, Sunana.
Yeah. Can hear you now.
Yes.
Now you can hear me? Sorry,
Yes, yes.
sorry.
Yes,
So
yes.
I was saying that that some of the initiatives like Smile and Alert, it would be wonderful if you could tell us a little bit more about those as well as part of your journey. And your contributions, we've heard, have earned you international recognition, including the Eisenhower Fellowship. And of course, you continue to work on women's empowerment, children, and climate change as a role in Rajya Sabha. So with that, I hand it over to Ms. Chavan, and maybe with a first question, which is to a framing question sort of, is how did you enter this space? What inspired you to really get into climate change as a crisis, climate action as a conversation? Could you tell us a little bit about your journey? You're on mute, by the way. I will now get on mute.
Sure. Thank you. Before answering the question, first of all, let me congratulate the Azim Premji University and the Flame University, from where several members have initiated this, the Climate Educator Network, and of course supported by the Initiative for Climate Action and ASAR. It's a great initiative that the teachers or the professors from these universities have come forward to really address the issue, which is the need of the day. As far as I'm concerned, as you, while introducing me, you mentioned that I have been a corporator for 3 terms at the Pune Municipal Corporation. Being a member there, I used to constantly raise environmental issues. There were so many issues which used to come up concerning the development plan of the city, where most of the corporators or even the administration wanted some patches of land which were reserved for playgrounds or gardens to be de-reserved. And I used to stand up sometimes alone, sometimes only a few of us, to oppose those resolutions. And whenever it was about environment, I had colleagues who said, "Oh, that's a hi-fi issue. That is nothing to do with the poor." And I used to really get very upset, because environmental is not a hi-fi issue. If it hits us all, but it hits the poor the most. But it was, I don't know, I used to find it very difficult to convince them and make them understand that no, it's everybody's issue. But that time, climate change was not so much spoken about. This was way back in 1992 to 2007 that I was a corporator. When the development plan of the city of Pune was happening, because some 23 villages got merged into the city the year when I was the mayor. And the development plan for these 23 villages was to be made. There were hills around Pune. There are hills around Pune. I think Bangalore also has some beautiful hills around the city, because I know of a former MLA who then took up this cause which I took up for Bangalore. I'm forgetting his name, but he's an actor and a politician. So when the entire municipal corporation wanted to allow construction on these hills, and I was the only one who said, no, we will not allow construction on hills. Now, in a democratic process, I was in a miserable minority. I was one against all of them. And some, of course, abstained from voting. So, I lost. And the decision that was taken was to allow construction on hills. Fortunately for me, the next day, the newspapers, the media carried headlines that I was the lone corporator who said no. To my surprise, and I was really happy to see that people responded, the Punekars responded by saying, she is right, and that is the stand we need to take. We have a law called the Maharashtra Regional Town Planning Act. Whenever a development plan is happening, you have 90 days. Now, of course, they've cut it down to 60. I think after this example, that in the 90 days, the citizens were supposed to file in suggestion objections, saying whether they want the hill, don't want the hill, or what was their suggestion or objection. And I think no city in the history of our country must have seen that 90,000 plus people signed in objections that we don't want any construction on hills. And it was amazing to see that all the political parties had to give up their stand and allow the stand of the people. That is, no construction on hills. Basically, because of whatever I did, today it has been ratified by the state government. Of course, there is still a hanging sword, but I won't get into those details. But after this incident, there was a conference, international conference of mayors from all over the world in Montreal, in Canada. And they had invited me to speak for 20 minutes on this topic, that how one person can make a difference to, take up such a environmentally friendly or sustainable decision. And in this 3-day conference that we have, more than those 10-minute speech or presentation that I gave, I learned something which was a game changer as far as I'm concerned. From day one, there were 2 things predominantly that were being said. One was, at that time, this was in 2005, December 2005, when Kyoto Protocol was the latest declaration, international declaration. And America, as we all know, had not signed the Kyoto Protocol. And therefore, everybody was hitting out at America that they are the biggest polluters and they should have signed the Kyoto Protocol. And the second thing that they were saying, which really shocked me, that they were saying amongst the hotspots on the globe, of course, North and South Pole, we knew that the glaciers are melting, and the polar bears and the penguins, their state of affairs. But I did not know that India and Bangladesh were the most vulnerable on this globe. I mean, after North and South Pole, they were saying India and Bangladesh are most vulnerable to climate change. Now, this was quite an eye-opener for me. Came back to India. I was wondering whether I will find material if I Googled. But yes, when I Googled, I found a bhandar of information. And as I was finding it, I was downloading it, and I thought I'll put it into a PowerPoint presentation, which I did in 4 parts. One was what's happening all over the world, all the climate events that were happening all over the world, which I was absolutely ignorant about, except the North and South Pole. The second thing, what was happening in India, because nothing was being spoken about the impacts of climate change in India, except for that flood, the torrential rains which happened in Mumbai. Nothing was being said. Then the third thing was, what is the science of climate change? How does it happen? What are the GHG emissions, and how is our transportation and electricity and our garbage, how are they contributing to climate change? So this was again quite a learning process for me. And the fourth thing is, what is it that we need to do? What is it that we need to do as governments? What do we need to do as individuals? And local self-governments play a very, very major role after the Agenda 21 of the Rio conference. So basically, these are the things that we need to do to address climate change and local actions. So this all became an eye-opener for me. And since I put the PowerPoint presentation together, I thought whether there'll be any takers, because I was already being always cited as these are hi-fi topics and people don't know about climate change, or not even what's happening at the North and South Pole. So I didn't know whether there would be any takers. Luckily, that very year in 2007, there were Nobel Prize declared to Mr. Al Gore, the former Vice President of America, for what he was doing as an advocate of creating awareness on climate change. And his Inconvenient Truth came into public domain. I laid my hands on that and I said, oh, wow, this is exactly what I've been saying in my PowerPoint presentation, and even more because it was India-centric. And he was trying to convince the world that, yes, climate change is happening, because there were 2 schools of thought. Here, the presentation was, it is happening, basically, and what is it now we need to do? And the second was, of course, the UNFCCC also got the Nobel Prize, which was headed by our own Dr. Rajendra Pachauri. So this was an occasion for me to come out boldly and say that this is what is happening and this is what we need to do. Taking a cue from what I learned and what I heard at Montreal, I decided, now I know about it. I know many of us don't know about it. And now it becomes my responsibility to go out to people and make them aware as to what is climate change, what is it that we need to do at the local self-government level. Being a product, or rather 15 years at the corporation, I had connections with the municipal corporation. So I made them take some policy decisions, which I will come to later. But mainly I was going to colleges and corporate sector to create awareness that they need to reduce their carbon footprint. And in just 1 year, I really went berserk. I went crazy. I did 500 presentations, 45 minutes each in just 1 year with that PowerPoint presentation that I had prepared. And well, I was really satisfied that I was able to convince a lot of people. Even today, when I meet some of these people, they come to me and they say, when you made that presentation way back in 2007, we thought, ye kya bol rahi hai, aisa thodi hone wala hai. But today we are actually seeing the impacts of climate change, and now it's an eye-opener. It's happening, and therefore we need to do something about it. And of course, since then, we have embarked upon several programs. Again, maybe I'll talk about it a little later.
So maybe just picking up from what you were talking about, just a couple of threads. One, the question of being a citizen versus a statesperson. That's one question. The second is also, you are talking about activating civil society, right? So what are the ways that one can and should activate civil society in this context? What are the challenges you might have faced doing that? And did that change once you come into places of power, or are there more bottlenecks actually that come by positioning yourself in a different place? I guess, and the third kind of connected question that I'm curious about is, how does this land with other politicians? How does this land with other statespeople? How do you get them on board into these kind of questions, given that they have different multiple things that they are juggling, and kind of the calculations that they're making are not only about climate? So Yeah, that's true.
Basically, I think Sunanya, it's a very, very challenging task because even as of today, though we are seeing the impacts of climate change, yes, now people at least recognize that there are vagaries of nature, and there's something happening which never ever happened before. The torrential rains, the heat waves, or in whatever form, each city and every place, every state, or every country is in some way or the other experience something or the other. But the unfortunate part is at the local self-government level. First, let me talk about the local self-government level. They are still not aware as to it's happened. Okay, they will ask for a package. They'll say, okay, this area got flooded last year, so now make sure the nalas are cleaned before the next rains, and so and so. But they are really not getting to the root of the problem. So I feel awareness amongst not only ordinary citizens, but even the elected representatives at local government is extremely important. Just a few months back, about 6 to 7 months back, we had a capacity building program for the engineers from the municipal corporation. Pune Municipal Corporation is supposed to be one of the very good municipal corporations in India. In fact, we won a lot of prizes and some of the best practices which happen here. But the unfortunate part was when that 1 hour presentation was over, we asked them, okay, how many of you, because they are the ones who should, know this issue to plan their projects of development. If they don't know how to mitigate climate change or take adaptation measures, then we are really not going anywhere. If we still have roads which are wall to wall and don't allow any area for the water to seep inside the ground, or for that matter, there are nalas and little streams, and the builders, while constructing their buildings, they just have, they're so careless. They just fill it in and don't bother how the water will flow. So these are little things which are very important. So for the coming from Pune, I made Pune Municipal Corporation, even after being a corporator, do 2-3 very, very important things. One is mapping of every stream and underground water in Pune. So we have mapped all our streams. At least, if somebody is constructing somewhere and some vigilant citizen comes up and says, there was a nala there was a stream there, when it rains, there's water which flows along that, then at least we have it mapped. That's number one. The second thing that we've done is we've also done underground aquifer mapping. But unfortunately, not much is being done in that direction, but it's there. But construction in Pune, we allow about 2-3 floors of underground digging to have our parking done. Now, my stand has been, and my ask has been with the corporation, which I will be doing again next week when I meet the commissioner, that we have to bring about a law that if there is an aquifer flowing underground, under that particular plot, you will not allow them to go deep down. You allow them to go higher 2-3 floors for their parking, but not go down, because we have concrete examples where this has been done, and lakes and the what's it called, the hand pumps that we have, the bore wells have gone dry, completely dry. So these are instances which we have seen, we have concrete examples of that happening in Pune. But still we haven't seen the light of the day, though we have been constantly pressurizing the municipal government to do this. The third thing that we've done, or rather I push the government to do, is have a carbon inventory for the city. Again, no other city had done this. I think after us, maybe Bangalore has done it, and 2-3 other cities have done this. But there was no other city had done a carbon inventory as to which are the areas, which are the sectors from which the carbon emissions happen. And if they do happen, how much of it happens. So except for the aeroplanes that come and go out of the city, the whole city has been mapped as to what our carbon footprint is. So that becomes a benchmark for us to actually monitor as to whether we are addressing those issues. And therefore, that journey is still on. The fourth thing that we did was to incentivize people to adopt rainwater harvesting, vermicomposting, solar panels. we give a 20% rebate on property tax. So that's again an outcome of one of the conferences that I had with the NGOs, with engineers from the municipal corporation and the commissioner. So again, these are some of the concrete steps that we have taken, which I am happy to say that we were the flag or torch bearers of this. We want other cities to emulate this. So as I said, the municipal corporators are not still aware. I think as soon as they win elections, the first thing that needs to be done is capacity building on climate change and how we need to address this. Otherwise, they will all come up with fancy plans. Things like instead of improving your public transportation system, they will ask municipal corporation to spend money on flyovers, which is not the right thing to do. So these are little things, or for that matter, we see that the nalas or the rivers, they take pride in saying that we have concretized the nalas and made it look neater. Now that is not what is expected. You are supposed to have very natural bunding done to those nalas. So these are things they will understand only if they know what climate change is and how do we address this. As far as the parliament, in the assembly, I was also a member of Legislative Council for 9 months, and I was myself shocked to hear that I was the first person to have ever spoken on climate change there. Somebody else kind of initiated that discussion, but it was a very anyway, hats off to him that at least he did it. But with the little knowledge that I had, probably I added more value to that discussion, which according to the librarian there, he says that people still come to refer to my speech which I gave, and I was given more time than I was allotted. So that's something I want to say, not just to tom-tom about what I did, but basically to say that this is the level of ignorance even amongst elected representatives. It was only the last session that, the last session of course was a flop because it didn't function at all. But I think the session before that, there was a entire discussion on climate change, again for the first time in the parliament, in the Lok Sabha, and then after that in the Rajya Sabha. So I'm happy that at least for the discussion, every party had to speak, and so people came prepared with what climate change was and how it's to be addressed. But I feel sorry to say that the level of knowledge or the level of wanting to do something in that direction is still wanting. And that's why I said it's a challenging task for us to take forward. I think, honestly, that we, along with sensitizing the governments, especially the local self-governments, because that's where the action has to happen. Policies can be made at central government level, which are happening, fortunately. As we know, United Nations had taken the lead way back in 1972 when they had the Stockholm Conference, which was the conference on environment. Followed after 20 years, there was the Rio Conference in 1992, and followed by Johannesburg and things like that. And then, of course, the recent 2015, the Paris Agreement. So governments have been on board to make decisions and make policies and make legislations. However, it is not percolating down to the grassroots. And therefore, that is very important, because the government will take decisions and policies will follow, industry or municipal governments will take actions. But why are we doing this is something that they need to understand. And basically, individuals need to understand, because if each individual starts taking action to reduce their carbon footprint, it'll make a huge difference. And therefore, just this year, the Prime Minister also has come up with a life mission, which talks about, I have this book here, the life mission, which talks about lifestyle for environment, which talks about 75 actions because of 75 years of independence. But I think there are more than 75, which honestly we need to do. But even if people are aware about these life mission, I think that's more than enough. This talks about how lifestyle changes need to be made. So governments are doing this. I think you, me, and NGOs who honestly feel that we need to do something, take up concrete steps, need to really expedite our actions to reach out to people and educate them. and create awareness as much as possible. I'm a group of Climate Reality, which is headed by former Vice President Al Gore, former Vice President of America. And during one of his sessions, which we had with him, he had said that talk to 10 people every day about climate change. Not that you have to give them a lecture, not that say everything, but at least say it's happening and these are our lifestyle changes which we need to change. Talk about sustainability. Of course, the word sustainability has come now. It wasn't there during his workshop, which was long back. But sustainability and climate change and lifestyle changes, which each one of us need to make. That is something we've, we've taken upon ourselves. But I think as being in public life, I reach out to many more than 10 at one time when I'm addressing this issue. But I think each one who probably doesn't have that kind of access to so many people could over coffee, over tea, chai pe charcha, could really talk about this. And this is very important because small actions will really, at an individual level, will take us a long way.
So maybe that's a good place to jump off to the last kind of broad question and orientation, which is, in your opinion, you've kind of explained the locus of climate action has to be at local government. What would you your wish list for what climate education should look like? And also, how do you think different stakeholders can engage in it? In terms of, if we look at local government as supporting climate education, as elected representatives, as citizens. So what kinds of different ways can we think about this question of climate education, not so narrowly as just in schools, but certainly also with schools, right? Systematically, what would you think is the way forward?
So I think the first step should be getting the NGOs together. There are a lot of non-governmental organizations, voluntary organizations, which are working in the field of environment. So if you could get them together and draw up an action plan like the Climate Educator Network that you have formed, if you all can go out to various colleges, various schools, various groups of people, Mahila groups, women's groups, Rotary, Lions, that's what I used to do. I just reach out to them to create the awareness. Reaching out to the local self-government is not very easy. I mean, even in spite of the fact that I was there for 15 years, and I'm a former mayor of Pune, even then I have to fight my way out, very honestly. So, but if there's a public action, if there's a people's action wanting a certain thing, then it certainly makes a difference instead of one person going there individually, no matter even if you're a former mayor. I'll give you one example. We have a BRT system. I think you have it in Bangalore too, a dedicated lane for the buses, public transportation system. Obviously, what happens on some of the roads, the BRT doesn't have as much frequency as they should have, the buses. But in the future, I'm sure there'll be more buses flying on that dedicated lane. But the thing is that the lane which is left for the cars, for the individual cars, the private cars, gets jammed. And therefore, people started asking, and even the elected representatives from that area started saying, do away with that dedicated lane because there are hardly any buses going there. And here there is a traffic congestion happening. Now, this was the demand to the municipal commissioner. But some of us then, had the counter stand that no, instead you increase the frequency of the buses because the ultimate idea is that the private vehicles wean away from that vehicle and travel by the buses. So that is our ultimate aim. So you should not do away with the dedicated lane. And well, even if we were less in numbers, we could overpower this demand that was coming. And we tried to convince the people that, traffic jam ho raha hai, no doubt we can see it. But the ultimate aim is to increase the frequency of the buses, and ultimate aim is you wean off from your private vehicles and travel by public transport, and that will happen someday. So doing away with a dedicated lane will not happen. And plus, of course, the pollution level is there. So these are few things which people need to understand. If we want to create public pressure on the municipal corporation, which we must for certain issues, then we have to create awareness amongst the people so that they are with you when you make these demands. You may be less in numbers, but at least you're making a demand which makes sense in the long run, and you can justify it, basically. So I think the first step should be getting the NGOs together, which are already working in the field of environment. Secondly, drawing a plan to reach out to different, as I said, Rotary, Lions, women's groups, and several other organizations who regularly meet and have a say in what is happening in the city. The third thing then could be, as a group, go and put up your demand at the municipal corporation, because then, of course, even the corporator, very honestly, is very scared when citizens ask for a certain thing, and it's a huge group of people who are asking for a certain thing. Like I said, the hills of Pune is a classic example for this. So I think that's the way to move forward, instead of going directly as individuals to the municipal corporation. The better way is to create awareness among, because the effect is twofold. One is the person understands what is climate change and starts changing your own lifestyle, and secondly becomes a part of the pressure group which asks municipal corporation to do what it's supposed to do.
Do you think lifestyle change is enough to kind of drive systemic structural change?
Well, you have to first, it's like, practice what you preach, right? So if you're going to go out to preach that climate change is happening and you need to do certain things, even at home, you need to start. I mean, as kids, I remember my mother or my grandmother would tell me, when you're going from one room to the other, close the fan, close the light. We don't tell our children anymore. Of course, sometimes the schools themselves teach them that, which is great. Or when you're brushing or the fathers are shaving, the tap is on all the time. So make them conscious that water is a very rich resource and you cannot lose it like that. So put off the tap. These are simple things. Even television. Good old days, we had only one television in the house. Now every bedroom has a television. And basically, we use our remote to put off our television, right? The main switch should be off, or even for your laptop for that matter, or your computer for that matter, the main switch has to be off and not keep it in a sleep mode. So these are little changes. Even for the garbage, for example, the law talks about segregating your garbage at source meaning in your kitchen, at home. But unfortunately, not very many cities do that. I think Bangalore does a good deal. Pune does a good deal. But when I go to Delhi, I feel guilty because in our houses that have been provided by the MPs, no matter how many times we tell our house helps ki segregate karo, nahi karenge, because they say niche jaake mix karte hai ye log. So there has to be this conscious feeling that if I'm going to talk about climate change, if I want the government to do something, if I want to see that we have a better, cleaner environment or a sustainable environment, I have to also take up certain measures. And we know electricity, garbage. Why don't we plant a tree every year? So in our program, we have one family, one tree every year. So find wherever place you have, trees are the best to sequester carbon dioxide. So these are little lifestyle changes that on a birthday or a day you want to remember, say your late grandparents or parents, why don't we plant a tree, which helps in sequestration of the carbon dioxide? Because urbanization is happening so rapidly that all our trees and green covers is reducing. We have to make sure that we restore it. So these are little steps. Till you don't do it yourself, who is then going to do it? It's like somebody said, if not now, when? If not me, who? So basically, that is something that we need to inculcate in our lifestyle. And if everybody does that, then it definitely will bring a lot of change. Government can't do this bit. Planting trees, okay, government will plant trees. I've seen municipal corporation taking up a plantation drive. The next year you plant a tree in the same place again because all those trees are dead. But instead, if a family plants a tree and in memory of somebody, I'm sure they'll nurture it, they'll look after it, they'll make sure that it is, it really grows from a small sapling to a tree. Even for that matter, the garbage, make sure that our wet garbage is composted or the dry garbage goes for recycling. Try not to use plastic bags. Take a bag for shopping. So these are little lifestyle changes, but it takes you a long way in your thinking and in your action.
Thanks. Maybe in the last 5 minutes, if you could tell us some highlights of the Pune Climate Warriors program and things that you might want other cities to take up, other groups to take up, maybe also places that you might need support, and we can see how to connect with other people who have resources. Yeah, so I'll just stop with that.
So that'd be wonderful. In fact, as I said, in 2007, I reached out to corporates and colleges, and I could see that it was being received very, very well. But after that, I became an MLC and then an MP. But I couldn't get the time to reach out the way I used to reach out. But last year, my group in the office decided that why don't we take up schools once again. Now, talking to school students, really need a lot of skill because not everybody could do that. I tried doing it when I was doing it with the college and corporates, but I realized I am not able to have a dialogue with children because you need a different skill for that. So basically, we thought that we will build capacities of teachers. We'll do a teacher training for the schools. And we thought we'll just take only 30 schools because that's a manageable number. Reaching out to municipal corporation schools for me was very simple. I could have just called up the municipal commissioner and said, yeah, I want to reach out to these, and he would have given it to me. But no, I didn't want to go to the municipal corporation schools because that's where the children from not very well-to-do families come, poor families. So what are we going to tell them to reduce carbon footprint? So we wanted to reach out to schools where children from very well-to-do families take their education. I was very surprised to see that in the very first year, our expectation was 30 schools, but there were 63 schools which responded, and then we had to say, no, not anymore. And we had a full year's program. The first session was, of course, training the teachers because they also didn't know about climate change, heard about it, but didn't know the science, didn't know what one must do to address it, and didn't know what's happening all over the world, didn't know what's happening in India and why it's happening. Everybody thought it's a one-off event, which may not happen the next year. But yes, they were very, wanting to have that information. We prepared a PowerPoint, gave it to them, and we designed a very beautiful program where there was a lot of participation from the children. It was entirely an interactive program. Even a simple thing that the first festival that was coming after we started this program was Rajya Sabha. And we said, okay, why don't we have Rakhis which are made by the children by using recycled stuff. Don't buy a Rakhi this year. And they all made wonderful Rakhis and sent us the picture. Then Diwali, we told them, don't have this message of not bursting crackers. But then what do you do at such a time? So we told them to do an energy audit in their house. How many lights, how many, are they using LED lights, or it's the still good old bulb that they are using? How many electrical equipments, are they closing the, light when they go from one room to the other? Are they closing the television at the main switch or only their remote control? So these, and then how many trees in their camp around them? What are the kind of birds which are coming there? So the biodiversity that, which they've never ever experienced. These are the things that we told them. Then every month there was some or the other, even segregation of garbage, recycling stuff. So we asked them to get their plastics to school, and then they realized how much plastic each one is producing. Even old clothes, old books were donated. So these are things. So July we had What is Climate Change to Me? That is something they was in the schools by making charts, and the whole year round those charts remained there. They added information to it. In August, it was all about trees, understanding native trees. because plantation of trees is fine, but they have to plant native trees. So what's the importance of native trees? And then, as I said, one family, one tree every year is what we started. Then September was waste management. We also asked them to not only segregate garbage, but also call the fourth class employee of the municipal corporation who actually does the street sweeping. They've never seen them because this happens early in the morning. So they've never seen who comes and cleans, as if it's a magic wand that yesterday it was dirty and today it's clean. So let them meet them, let them interact, let them know what is their life. So these were things which give them a totally different aspect to look at human beings also. Then October, as I said, that year Diwali was in October, so we had a green audit. This time we've asked them to do a green audit in their school. November was test yourself, so they could have a quiz in their school. December is normally an annual day. So for the annual day, we ask the teachers to have at least one program which is to do with climate change. One is put up their chart so that the parents can see what the children have done, and again educate and then there could be a song, there could be a skit, there could be just anything to do with climate change. So perform for climate change. Then January, there was a climate pledge that each one takes a pledge at home that, okay, these are the things that we are going to do. I'm not going to waste my water. My father has been told to put off the car when he's at a signal and it shows red. So these are things which we have, inculcated in them. This year, the municipal corporation has come out with 4 flags, and there is a Safar app which tells you what is the air quality on that particular day. So even in a city, maybe the western end of the city may have good air quality, but exactly the opposite end may not have good quality. So on the Safar app, they are able to say what is the kind of air quality. And we've given them 4 flags. Green says very good air quality, so you are happy and you can be outdoors and play as much as you want. But then there is a red flag also, which says, of course, with the orange and amber flag in between. But the red flag which says that the air quality is bad, so avoid going out, and if possible, wear a mask. Because as we all know, respiratory diseases have increased a lot in cities. So this is something also to make them conscious that air quality actually controls also the kind of health that they have. And February, we had a prize distribution where we gave away prizes to the best performers. Then we had a song competition where the children themselves had to come up with lyrics, and it had to have this term, there is no planet B, and Anmol Prithvi. So these two had to come somewhere in the lyrics, and they had to make their own music. So it was a fabulous turnout. In fact, it's on our YouTube of Pune Youth Warriors. And if you see, they've painted their faces, they've come out with props, and amazing outcome. This year, we are planning to have a summit, climate summit for school children. So we've already given them 2 topics each for each class. We are running this program for 6th, 7th, 8th only. So 6th, we have given 2 topics, air and energy. Then 7th, we have given another 2 topics, and 8th, we have given 2 topics. 8th is urbanization and governance. So they will choose their own students and send them for the final summit, which will happen in the month of December or January. So this is how we've planned it. And schools are very excited to do it. They go for a river cleanup, they go for tree plantations, and it's absolutely, we're thoroughly satisfied. This year we have 80 schools, and there are schools principals who, if they meet me or meet my daughter or anybody from our office, they say, we would like to jump on this program also. We would like to join this program. So that's another thing which probably Bangalore can do, because most of you all are from Bangalore. There are few schools in Sangli. There's a city called Sangli, close to Pune. They have about 20 schools which have onboarded, and they have the Sangli Climate Warriors. There are some schools in Nagpur. The Rotary Club has taken initiative there. So they have about 10 schools, though they are not able to run the entire program that we have given them. But it's okay. At least the awareness is happening, and whatever is possible for them, they're doing. There is another MP, Dr. Sanjay Jaiswal from Champaran, Bihar. who had taken up this program last year. This year he's busy with elections, so I think he has not been able to do it, but he's wanting to do it. And there are a lot of MPs who want this entire program to run in their constituencies, but there being elections now, everybody's gotten busy with that. But I think more than the political community getting into it, if the teachers and the NGOs, because though I'm in politics, I consider for this program, I consider myself a representative of an NGO, which we have, like Smile, what you mentioned. It's an organization where we help women to become economically empowered, independent, and at the same time capacity building for them to become neighborhood leaders. Because we talk about people's participation, but it's only on paper. It really doesn't happen in action. So we try to empower them to ask questions if things that the municipal corporation should be doing doesn't do. We also tell the municipal corporation to help these women when they come there with certain problems. And we've had a fabulous experience with that. That is also a competition for 6 months. We've called it Change Makers, where there are 5 leaders who select a neighborhood of 100 households, and they map their own problems and they find solutions to their own problems. And I can go on for hours to tell what amazing work these ladies have done. So through this lady, the community that we have, women community, and secondly, through the schools, we are running these programs for capacity building and creating awareness.
Thank you. I also think I can go on for hours asking you questions, but I will stop now and open up the floor for anybody else that has questions, comments. You can also put that.
Pune Climate Warrior, the program that we took, and we've connected, of course, to the SDGs, which is very important now.
Yeah.
And again, the elected representatives at local level do not know what the SDGs are. So that's another part which needs to be focused upon. So this is another, how many schools we reached out to, how many number of students, and how many people, because their families also got very involved in this. We broke them up into groups. We call them beat 1, beat 2, beat 3. With 7 to 8 schools each beat had, and leaders from our office running that. Then this was the entire program that we had. And of course, these are all the photographs of all the wonderful programs. Even the drawing competition that we had, normally the way to have a drawing competition is give the topic, and then the child just draws whatever she wants and submits it. But here they were asked to go home and discuss with their parents and then draw. So how do you reduce your carbon footprint? So even the parents had to let out their head. Then the elocution competition and the essay competition that we had also was such that you involve your parents. You ask them, how was Pune, say 10 years back, and how is it now? So they had to ask their parents, because 6th, 7th, 8th children have not seen a green Pune. They've seen the Pune as they see it now. So how will they know what was happening? This was a cycle city. They don't see cycles anymore. So basically, it'll come only when they ask their grandfather or grandmother or their parents. So this is how we even kind of came out with topics which made them involve their parents in this entire exercise. I think there are a lot of hands.
Yeah, so maybe Champaka, you can start, and then Rahul.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Sunaina. And thank you so much, ma'am, for this very, very inspiring session. Also to share your efforts, such unrelenting efforts. It's really been very inspiring, because for someone like me, I'm an urban planner. I'm a very dear colleague of, Sunaina is a very dear colleague of mine. So, both of us have been struggling with the ministry. We've tried to publish an article, for instance, on why it is important to bring about more biodiversity in our cities, just on our streets. And it's been next to impossible to persuade that argument with the ministry. But I also have another lab which I've recently started, and I've been discussing the purpose of the lab with Sunaina as well. It's called the Entrepreneurship and Partnerships Lab. And the purpose is to work with large corporates to address the problem of, energy optimization and minimal consumption of energy. And I'm an architect, so I also want to start work with the construction industry, which is one of the biggest contributors to the problem of greenhouse gas emissions. How does one even begin? It's been impossible. Today, I had so many discussions with some real estate developers, investors. Nobody is willing to even come onto the table to have a discussion on this because they're busy cutting each other's game. And, how does one even begin is if you could advise us on something in this front, that would be really valuable.
Yes, I know it's a very difficult task, and especially when it comes to people in the construction sector, it's extremely important. I know what I had to go through when I said that no construction on the hills should happen, or even for that matter, when we say that the green belts should remain green belts and should not allow anything to be happening there. So it is a tough job, but as I said, if you mobilize people and create public pressure, then that is the only thing that works. Because I mean, that is the only solution, to create public pressure, and therefore reaching out to people, making them understand how important this is the only way out. And as far as policy is concerned, I know you all will find it tough, because I myself find it tough being a mayor, former mayor of the city. I've been asking our municipal commissioner to give me time to find out a way to compensate all those people who have private lands in those, as we call them, BDP, the biodiversity parks. All these hills that we've reserved have been called the biodiversity parks. So basically, how you have to compensate them. I mean, you can't just say these are reserved and leave them high and dry. So I've been trying to find out a solution. First, we had a monetary compensation that we should give, but the corporation says we don't have the money. Then we said give them a green TDR. Again, it was decided that if they surrender their lands in 3 years, then we'll give them a 10% green TDR, otherwise a 8% TDR. But that also they are not agreeing to. Now, I don't know whether we can work out something in terms of carbon credits. So these are things which have to be, out of the box. You have to really, and I can't claim to be an expert. So basically, we have formed a group of urban planners and people who understand, some architects who are also well versed with sustainability issues, and we are trying to work out a way, but it's not an easy thing, let me tell you. Yeah, even now the two major things that are happening in Pune is they want to make a road along the hill, and it's not just along the hill, it is cutting the hill. So basically all of us are up in arms against that. Then the other project which is going on is beautification of a river in Pune, Mula Mutha River. But this beautification under that name is concretization of the river, which has happened for Sabarmati, and that's not a very good example. So just that it looks nice, that doesn't mean it's environmentally sustainable. So we are, as far as I'm concerned, I'm a layman, but then we have got experts together. We have formed a group where they give us the inputs. As a layman, I can understand it's wrong, but I can't say it in technical terms. So people like you and Sunaina probably give us those proper technical inputs, and then I voice it. So we have a nice group here in Pune of various stakeholders who bring in a lot of knowledge, and then ultimately when it comes to voicing it, it's unfortunately only us who are there present for some of the meetings with the chief ministers or the ministers. So we need to get that knowledge to voice it there. So this is how we are working in Pune, I guess. I don't know whether you have such groups in Bangalore, but that's something that you all should try to do. We shouldn't work in silos. We must collaborate and come together. You all share your knowledge with people like us. Find people who will voice your concerns, and understand the concerns of the city, and then voice it. And
Thank you so much.
We must do that. Because of the hills, otherwise we also didn't know about each other. It was only for the hills that all these NGOs came together to support what I had said. And that knowledge of contours, which I thought will never ever help me in my life in future. In school, all of us have learned contours. So on the development plan, I saw circles. And I said, oh, this is a hill, but it was painted yellow. That means it was entirely a residential thing. And I went to see it was a proper hill there, standing there. And if that had to be broken down or chiseled, I mean, this was just not acceptable. So, so yeah, I guess if there is no group, no such group in Bangalore, I think start getting them together and at least working together when such issues come up.
Thank you, Rahul.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chavan. I think for many years, we've seen you as a great champion of all causes dear to us too, and it's great to have somebody on our side as well. So just a couple of things. I'm at Flame University, but we have a center which is dealing with sustainability and climate change, but specifically climate change education. We see a lot of overlap in, I think, our goals and your goals. So if you don't mind, I'd like to share one of our projects, which has put together climate change education resources for teachers of all disciplines in multiple languages, location specific, and we've trained close to 1,000 teachers now in 11 countries. So we feel that whereas we are aiming more at high school teachers as well as college teachers, but certainly there's some synergy there. So sorry guys for a little bit of a plug-in, but I think it might actually work in terms of getting together. I think the second thing, because we've given this a lot of thought over the last 6-7 years about saying, how do you genuinely make impact? And I think you addressed this in your talk where you said that we have to improve or increase climate awareness. And we can increase climate awareness. And I understand your model completely about saying, let's go to the schools which are got people economically well off and things like those. As a policy maker, how, and given that education is a state subject, how difficult would it be to sort of introduce climate change into the curriculum? So the NEP gives us one opening to get it in there. But now we need to train teachers so that they can genuinely implement this. Is it? But the moment is a policy comes into play to say teachers teach this, not as experts, but even a single module per class. You know, I think we can reach out to so many more. So the NGO model certainly would be fantastic, but that is driven personally or by the NGO, it might have its ups and downs. But here, once it comes into the system itself, we can potentially reach there. So any thoughts you might have for that would be wonderful to hear.
Rahulji, you're absolutely right when you say it should become a part of the curriculum. In fact, environment education used to be a part of the curriculum some time back. CEE, Center for Environment Education, has had to come up with a proper syllabus, and it was shared and modulated for every class. Unfortunately, the government did away with that environment education syllabus, and very minimal still remains in the textbooks. So you're very right when you're saying it should be included in the curriculum itself. But honestly, at the moment, our governments are too busy politicking and really don't seem to have time for all these important issues, which is the sad part of the story. And if they are not doing it, I think we cannot wait for them to do it because climate change is an issue which is an existential crisis, and we really can't wait for them till they do something. But on our front, we have been trying our best, but unfortunately falling to dead ears. They don't feel it's an important issue, unfortunately.
Yeah, I've just posted a couple of links if your team would like to take a look and see if there is some overlap in interest. We'd be very happy to join when.
So in fact, let me make an appeal here that I'm no expert. I'm a lawyer by profession, and this Montreal conference really opened my eyes to this entire issue, and it's all self-learning for me. So I'm sure experts like you, urban planners, Rahulji, a person like you who is already, you all have this training courses. We would be very happy to learn from you and take those inputs and try to put it in our program wherever it's possible. In fact, even now, Champaka ji spoke about industries, and I forgot to mention about that. But industries are one of the biggest polluters. So lately they have come up with a lot of sustainability. They're using that word all across, but I don't know how much of it really they follow. But I myself am doing a course. Yesterday was the first online virtual lecture. So I am myself learning what is it that the industry needs to do to address this issue. And probably I've got another 6 months of my Rajya Sabha. But after that, I want to dedicate myself even for this creation of awareness in industries. But I have to be well equipped with that. As I said, this is what I've done is all self-learning and experience that I talk from. But if I have some knowledge, which Rahulji, you mentioned, you have this curriculum, I would love to come and visit and see how we can take it forward. And even Champakaji, you and Sunaina, if you can give us inputs as to what needs to be done, we'll be very happy. We have a urban planner, Anita Beninger, in Pune. So she is the one who keeps giving us all these inputs, and we try to integrate it in whatever we get to learn, or whatever expert information that we need.
I mean, Rahul's resources are really amazing for even teacher training. So maybe for Divya to look through it, and we can figure out a way to create a workshop where you kind of train with the materials, or kind of get the schools that Pune is working with to kind of engage with the materials as well. And that just adds to their capacities and resources that they have access to. So this is a really wonderful resource. So I'm also shamelessly plugging in Rahul's resource.
Because it's part of the Climate Educators Network now. So, but what we want to do, I think, and this is where we all actually want to get to, which is saying, can we make the local teacher a content creator? Because they know their system, they know their classroom, they know their students, they know their, whatever works or doesn't work. So of course, if you take the climate reality PPT, it may not translate to a particular school of a particular type or so. So that's all we are trying to see. If we could get, and I think we feel very disempowered to say, can things happen at scale other than using tech and making a website of resources? But dissemination, I think we would really love to, learn from you, and you champion these causes for decades. So, it's perfect that you're the first speaker here too.
Last question, I think Jay had his hand up, and we'll wrap up because we've already taken a lot of your time. So thank you very much, Ms. Chavan.
Yeah, thanks, Ms. Chavan. I think it was a very inspiring talk, and it was nice to see. And I think we're continuing this discussion of what are the various kind of institutions and various systems that we need to work on to actually, give us the best chance of solving the problem or changing the direction. I think I just wanted to speak to a couple of things that you said in terms of just the work that you've done in Pune. I think we're at the Initiative for Climate Action are doing very similar work in Bangalore as well. And I think the power of getting people together. So I just wanted to, see if you have any immediate ideas of how one kind of the nonprofit work and the policy work can start speaking to each other, at least in these urban spaces, because we're all facing similar challenges, right? You're talking about bowels drying up already and then finding solutions to that. Whereas we are just entering some of that phase, and it's different across different parts of the city. Same with things like air pollution. I think for a long time, everything has been compared to Delhi and said, oh, it's not as bad as that. But today we're seeing that, okay, in other urban centers as well, air pollution is becoming a greater challenge. So I just wanted to gauge if there's any suggestions on intercity kind of sharing of learnings.
So as
Can I pitch in one question which is very related to what Jay is saying? So that's the reason I just jumped in. Like when you said that Pune city as well as I think Bangalore also did, carbon audit
I think, I'm not sure. I think they have done it. I'm not too
Yeah.
sure because somebody mentioned to me that after Pune, Bangalore has done it, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think WRI has actually done an audit. They've been working with the BBMP as well. So yeah, it's done. Yeah, it's not published yet.
Yeah, so
But-
how can you, I mean, if you can integrate your answer with how can a city, take into account these things and address the.
So, actually this, the as I said, the carbon footprint for the city was, I think we were able to do it only because the position that I was in, very honestly. I don't know, whether any citizen would have gone and the municipal commissioner would have listened. I'm being very honest. So I really pushed it hard, and you know that every city is supposed to do an ESR every year, environment status report every year. Now, when this environment status was happening one particular year, I was very well connected with the person who was doing it. So I said, hey, why don't you put a chapter on climate change, saying that, we need to address this issue, mitigation and adaptation for climate change. And he said, good idea. So it was absolutely on a friendly note that we spoke and it happened. So I don't know whether I would be lucky next time, for this to happen. And then when that was done, then we asked Terry to do it. Now, the present municipal commissioner wouldn't even know the kind of push that I gave because it's not documented that Vandana Chavan asked for it. But the thing is that, yes, that happened. So that could happen only if, again, a group of stakeholders in your city come forward and go and tell the commissioner. I think Bangalore has done it, as Jay said, yes, but if it has not done it, then probably you need to tell them, and it has to be monitored. Just making a carbon footprint report and not acting on it is also senseless. So you have to make sure that in every ESR it is addressed that what is it that you did after to address your report to reduce your carbon footprint. So something like that needs to come from a group of stakeholders. So, Jay, to answer again, your question is the only thing I feel is getting together. Let me tell you, even today, not a single elected representative from Pune is with me on this. They may say, oh, you're doing great work. And if there's any topic related to environment, they will say, oh, that's Vandana's subject. But that's not my subject. That's everybody's subject. That's what I tell them, don't brush it off by saying, that's Vandana's subject. No, it's your subject. It's for your children. It's for your grandchildren. So it better be our subject, not my subject. So I think the best thing is to, working in this field on climate change and creating awareness. As I said, I have a lot of other stakeholders with me, but hardly any from the elected community. That's unfortunate, but that's the reality.
Amazing. Thank
The
you.
recognition that she is doing good work is good enough for me. Yeah, I look at it.
That for sure. I mean, thank
what-
you for sharing this entire journey, and I hope that we can all be in touch. And the idea, as you're saying, we too believe that collective action is the way forward, particularly in this political climate. And we will endeavor to get more collective as we kind of grow, which is the hope.
Yeah,
So
that is
thank you
one
so
of the initiative of our CE and to get all forces together to come to a same platform so that we can start this kind of collective action.
Do count me in. I will definitely love to see this happening in Bangalore and wherever our members have joined us from. And I will keep in touch with Rahul Chopra ji. If you can send me, Pallavi ji, if you can send me his number. Rahul ji, we'll seek your help since you're close in Pune, rather close to Pune, and take inputs from you. And for the rest in Bangalore, let's make a Bangalore climate warrior happen.
Yeah,
much.
sure.
Whatever
We
required
do
for
want
that,
to do
I
that.
will. In fact, it's a Bangalore Institute where I'm doing this course. SLX, it's called.
Oh,
Swiss
okay.
Learning Exchange.
Mhm.
And they do this sustainability course for 4 months, virtual classes. And towards the end of the course, I'm supposed to come to Bangalore for some live sessions and for some program.
Okay, wonderful. Keep us informed when you're coming, and hopefully we can maybe even touch
Let's
base
take
again.
that opportunity and launch Bangalore Climate Warriors.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's a great idea. So
Yeah.
we will
Help
be in
required
touch.
from my side. Divya is also there to help you with the. You can take the same curriculum. Rahulji can help us by adding something more, and you know, it's not that you will get a very big group, but whatever little, I'm sure we can reach out and bring visibility to the program. That's what's most important.
Yeah. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for coming.
Amazing. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And thank you all for being here, and it's gone
Yeah.
over time, and for patiently sticking around and for attending our session. So thanks a lot, all of you.
All the best.
Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.